Lovely. So, thank you everybody for coming and welcome to this Q2 Players Variety Night, which is so very special because it only involves new writing from the Q2 members. So it really is, it's a wonderful programme. We've got 8 pieces. We'll have 4 pieces, then an interval, and then another 4 pieces. So a few technical things first. I am going to ask you all to mute yourselves. That's performers and audience alike. And performers, obviously, remember to unmute yourselves when it's time for your own performance. Cameras as well will have to be turned off because we are doing some things in gallery view, and it will be a bit distracting if you're just there in the middle of everybody else who's performing. Now, because you're on mute, you won't be able to applaud after each piece, but I do hope that you will applaud especially loudly at the interval when I ask you all to unmute yourselves, and at the end of the show. Yay. And there you go, and a lot of people have demonstrated how to do claps without making any noise at all, so that's a lovely thing to do as well. One more thing, I'm going to, at the beginning of each piece, I will tell you whether it's designed to be seen on gallery or speaker view, because some of them are one-person pieces, and it would be a shame if someone was very, very tiny on the screen when it's only one person and you could get to see them closely. Now, if you can't change from speaker to gallery view, don't worry, it won't spoil your enjoyment in any way, but it would be nice if you could do that. So without further ado, we are going to crack on with a piece that is designed to be watched in gallery view. So hopefully you're already on gallery view, so you can leave that as it is. So I would just ask Helen and Tony and Fliss to turn their cameras off, if that's at all possible. This piece is called What's in a Name, and it's been written by Harriet, and it stars Harriet, Bob, Karen, and me.
What's in a name? There are famous names across a wide range of areas: history, politics, sport, music, theatre, and we refer to them in the assumption that we all know who we're talking about. And then there are names that are massively important in some people's worlds that are unknown in others, such as maybe the worlds of couture and motorbike racing. It was a glorious Sunday morning. Coffee and croissant out on the patio under a clear blue sky. Charlotte and Dave lounged lazily in the sun before turning their minds to the day ahead. As Charlotte started to clear the table, Dave called after her.
Oh, I need to make a banner for the club race next weekend. Do you happen to have any material that would do?
Well, funny enough, yes. I got a funny old long white dress in the charity shop a while back, and I haven't done anything with it, so you can have that.
Great. Where is it?
Oh, it's in the loft.
She stood in the doorway with a punnet in her hand, en route to the garden.
You want it now?
It's okay, you go picking. I can get it down in a minute if you tell me where it is.
All right, it's in a big bag right next to the hatch. You can't miss it.
She went out into the garden, and Dave finished the washing up and went upstairs. He shoved a few things out of the way as he climbed up into the loft and looked around for the bag with the dress in, but he couldn't see it, possibly because by now he was actually standing on it. He did, however, see a long white dress hanging up on a rail opposite.
Ah, that must be it. She must have hung it up and forgotten. The fabric's a bit lightweight, but it should do fine.
He took it downstairs and laid it out on the floor to cut out a large oblong to form the banner. As he started, Charlotte came back through the garden with a heaped punnet of raspberries.
What a wonderful crop. We've got so many this year. I said to Helen she could come... Ah! No! Ah! Catherine Walker!
Dave looked up as she screamed, turned white as a sheet, and dropped the punnet of raspberries.
What?
Catherine Walker!
Her face contorted, and for a while she looked as if she was going to kill him, and then she turned abruptly and ran out of the house. He heard the front door slam, and screams of "No, no, no!" from down the drive.
Blimey. Catherine Walker. Must be one of her clients she forgot that she was supposed to be meeting. Odd thing that, forgetting. And she forgot where she put the dress. I wonder if she's okay.
He wandered back into the kitchen and made himself another cup of coffee and started to pick up the raspberries. Just then, his phone rang.
Hi, it's Helen. Is Charlotte there? I can't get hold of her and she said to come over for some raspberries. I just wondered what time.
Oh, she's gone out. Rushed out, actually, in a bit of a panic. I think she's forgotten she had a client.
A client today? Sunday? Well, that's funny. She said she would be in all day.
That's what I thought. She dashed out. Catherine Walker, I think she said.
Who? Catherine Walker?
Yes, I was just there cutting up an old dress and she came in with your raspberries, shrieked about a Catherine Walker and rushed out the door.
How odd. Oh, hang on a bit. So, you were what? Cutting up an old dress?
Yes, to make a banner for the race meeting. This one.
What? And you didn't go after her?
Well, no, she looked in a bit of a panic to get going.
The reality began to dawn on Helen.
God, it must be that Catherine Walker. Does the name Catherine Walker mean anything to you?
No, I don't really have anything to do with Charlotte's business, especially now she's more into the home visits.
Look, I think I'd better come over right away. And look, don't do any more to that dress till I get there. I'll only be a few minutes.
Okay. See you soon.
Helen sped through the country lanes, both aware of what had happened and fearing what might. As she turned into Charlotte's drive, she saw her, ranting and pacing and waving a sledgehammer around with unexpected ferocity.
Hey,
Helen
Lottie!
stopped and got out gingerly.
Hey, Lottie! Hey, it's me. Put that thing down before you do yourself an injury.
It was a Catherine Walker. Oh, how could he? A classic. A 70s classic. My Catherine Walker.
Yeah, yes, I know. I understand. Now put that down. Yes, he's a jerk. Now put that down, please.
Charlotte put down the hammer and sank to the ground.
It's okay. We'll see if we can salvage it. I told him in no uncertain terms not to do anything more with it.
Helen sat next to Charlotte.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine now. I was just letting off steam. I was furious and heartbroken and I just couldn't believe it. It's okay. I've calmed down now. I'd better go back in.
Are you sure you're okay now? I can come in with you.
Oh, no, I'd better sort this out myself. I'm fine, honestly.
She got up and started walking slowly towards the house.
Okay then, I'll pop back later.
Charlotte paused in the doorway before entering the room.
Oh, there you are. Helen called. She's coming over. For some reason, she said not to do anything more with the dress. Something about your client, Catherine Walker, is it? Yes. Maybe it belongs to her. Anyway, I thought it's such a good day, I'd go for a quick spin on the bike instead. Box Hill or somewhere. Do you want to come?
He had put on his leathers, and he hesitated for her reply as he picked up his keys. Charlotte started to panic.
No, you're fine. You go. I have to run into town for a few things. In fact, I think I'll go now.
She hurried out, got in the car, and took off down the drive, slowing down once she was obscured by the hedges, where she stayed just long enough to hear a shriek from the garage.
Ah! No! My Ducati! A 70s classic!
And in a voice almost sobbing, a name she hadn't heard before.
Mike Halewood!
Thank you very much, guys. And thank you to Harriet for writing such a wonderful piece. Okay, now we're going to move on to something a little different. We're going to move on to A Lesson Well Learned by Linda Lindberg. So if everyone else could mute. There. A lesson well learned. The silence after the bomb alarm settled in her bedroom. Emmy closed the novel she'd been reading and closed her eyes. Why do we need to learn about Second World War, she thought. It finished 75 years ago. We must be able to move on and not keep dwelling on horrible old stories. There was a loud bang. The room shook as though there was an earthquake, and Emmy jumped out of bed. The quilt she threw to the side of the bed was an old, smelly blanket. She looked around, confused. The moonlight was flooding in from a window, and the room she had woken up in looked a little like her own, but instead of a soft bed, she had been sleeping on the mattress on the floor. The floor, yes, it shook again, and the window shattered. The sounding alarm was deafening, and her door was opened with force. "Hurry up, girls," a woman dressed in a nightgown and cardigan shouted. "We have to get down to the shelter." The gravity of the situation overpowered her senses, and Emmy followed the woman and a young girl who had been sleeping on the mattress next to her. They ran down the stairs together with the neighbors and went through an old heavy cellar door. When it shut behind them, it was pitch black until an old man lit a candle and a lantern. The light played over the unfamiliar faces, and Emmy felt her throat close with fear. She tried to swallow. They sat in silence for what felt like an eternity. When it was finally quiet outside as well, the woman who'd been sitting nearest to the door leaned against it and listened carefully. She turned around and nodded, and they got up slowly from the floor. Emmy noticed a young man who needed help to get up. He'd lost his leg from the knee down. His eyes filled with torment met hers, and she hurried over to help him. "Thank you, I forgot my crutch upstairs," he said feebly. Emmy nodded in response. When she got out into the street, she was met by the destruction. The streets of London had been hit badly, and both the houses which had been hit by the bombs and the surrounding buildings had crumbled to the ground. Emmy stopped feeling and just got on with it, hurried up to the others who were digging amongst the rubble and ash, looking for survivors. Cries and wailing could be heard from the piles of broken walls, and she dug with her bare hands, even though they were torn and bloody in minutes, and hurt till her eyes were stung from tears and smoke. "Careful, it might fall in," a man shouted from behind her. She had just heard the piercing cry of an infant buried beneath her. Emmy tore at bricks and wood, and blood was streaming from her hands. She felt something move under her. There, she saw it, a little hand, grey and bloody, clenching hers, grabbing hold. Emmy managed to dig her up and lifted the little girl. The man behind her took the girl from her arms, just as the beam beneath Emmy ruptured and she fell, straight down into the tomb of the building. She was veiled in darkness, and she heard the other's screams like an echo in her head. She looked up. The light was streaming in from under the curtain. It was morning. Time to go to school. Shivering, she put the novel about the Second World War in her bag. She didn't need to wonder anymore.
Thank you, Linda. Lovely. Now, our next piece is Josephine, written by Ian Neserthal and performed by Helen Smith. Some of you may remember this piece being performed under its original name of Florence, and it was by Josie Nicholson at that time. And in her memory, Ian has renamed it Josephine.
The weather's nice, but then I always thought it was. No matter what the time of year, it always seemed nice. We used to come here a lot, our special place. That's how we like to think of it. My Arthur would stand on those railings and pretend to be like the strong man they used to have along the pier, with all the other things that used to be on the pier. My Arthur would win me a goldfish every time we came down, regular as clockwork. Win a goldfish, take it to the park, put it in the pond. I had a look recently. There's nothing there now but cigarette ends and crisp bags. The more I look at this place, the more I think it has changed. I mean, the place is still the same, but the people are different. They don't seem to smile as much for a start. And I thought a breakaway was supposed to relax and refresh you. It seems as though people have forgotten how to have a good time. Arthur and I used to have a good time when we come down here. Honestly, after a weekend, I would be smiling for weeks. Mother always used to ask if I had a good time at Jennifer Blakely's house. Mother never liked Arthur, but I did, and Arthur liked me. 62 years of married life, happy married life. Not like these here today and gone tomorrow types marriages that they have now. We were made to last. Though there was one time, though, when I thought my Arthur would leave. We were trying for children, you see. Arthur really wanted a baby, well, so did I. But there was something wrong and we couldn't. And I really thought he would leave. But he said, "It's you I love, and if you can't have kids, then we can't have kids." Most thoughtful man in the world was my Arthur. I miss him so much. It was one of those things that did for him, one of those bloody trams. I told him not to run after that little girl's ball, but no, he would run after her. I shouted at him when I saw the tram coming round the window, round the corner, but he didn't hear me. And I shouted again, but when he turned round, his leg gave way under him. We were apart during the war. He didn't write at all while he was away. There will be times, he said, when I won't be able to write a letter, or I won't want to, so it will be easier if I don't. He kissed me at the station when he went away. 3 years he was gone, and then a letter arrived. I was terrified, but it said he was coming home. His base had been hit. He had taken some shrapnel in the top of his leg, but he was alive and we were together again. It was upsetting seeing him in the wheelchair though, but he was home. Every day after that was special. Things were difficult after Arthur died. The funeral went well, everyone crying and holding on to each other. Everybody said such nice things. Everybody loved my Arthur. The priest gave me his ashes in a little vase. I scattered his ashes at sea like he wanted. He said, "If I go before you, have me cremated and sprinkle me into the air above the sea. Let me lie where men can't dig me up." I did it on the ferry. A day trip from Dover to Boulogne. Oh, I do hope he forgives me, but I couldn't afford a cruise. I had to give up the flat, a small council flat on an estate. It just became too difficult. Arthur used to carry the shopping up the stairs for me, but with him not there, I had to use the lift. When it worked, when it did, it always smelled horrible and made me feel sick. Why do people do that? There were some nice people, though. There was a young lad, George, lived on the ground floor with his mother. Such a polite lad. Arthur used to help him with fix his bike. The chain, you see, it kept coming off. So George would wait until we passed, and then he would ask Arthur to put it back on. I think he missed not having a dad. My Arthur would have made a good dad. I used to do my shopping on a Saturday morning to get the best of the specials. And whenever I got back, Georgie would be waiting at the bottom of the stairs for me to carry my bags. I tried to give him some money once, but he wouldn't take it. He just grinned, gave me a kiss and ran off. I think Georgie is the only thing I shall miss about that estate. I like the home, though. It's one of those starter homes for the elderly. You know the ones. A little flat with its own kitchenette and a bathroom. And then as you get a little bit older, they move you into the next stage of care for the elderly. Oh, but it sounds like I'm moaning, and I'm not. To be quite honest, I'd rather be here than struggling on my own. And you know what? For the first time in my life, I'm glad we didn't have children. There is one woman been in the home for some time. I won't mention her name, but her daughter comes in to visit once a week, regular as clockwork. 3 o'clock on the dot Saturday afternoon. You can see it in her face that she didn't want to be there. She brought the kid along last week. Little bastard stole my banana and trod it into the carpet. Not polite or friendly at all. Not like my Georgie. Mrs. Broom was so upset that they had to put her to sleep, if you see what I mean. I told her, you just tell them not to come unless they want to, not because they have to. Oh, blast now, I've told her her name. I don't think she'll mind, though. She moves out next week into one of those without a kitchenette or bathroom. Oh, at last I will be able to die peacefully. Good old Arthur. He keeps seeing me right, and he will do to the end.
Okay, right. Well done to Ian, who wrote the piece, who sadly couldn't be with us this evening because he's in North Wales, but I think he'll agree that Helen did him proud on that. That was absolutely wonderful. And so, let's have a look. We have our last piece before the interval. And it is, don't worry about the screen sharing, that's Craig sorting out some technicalities for this. It's a piece called Perfect Match, and it's been co-written by Craig and Wendy, who will also be performing it together.
You're still muted.
All right. Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yes. So you must be Craig.
Yes, and you must be Wendy. Um, it's a pleasure to finally meet you, even if it is only virtually.
Eh, you have nice eyes. But you look older than I thought you would.
Yeah, but it's not the age; it's the mileage.
Uh-huh. Did you lie about your age on Perfect Match?
Of course not. I mean, how could I? I don't just mean ethically. I mean, well, they're bloody strict on accuracy, aren't they? You're on there too. You must know how rigorous they are. All the documents you need to send, originals only, no scanned, and all the blood tests, the hair samples, the DNA profiling. I've never had to jump through so many hoops just to. you you look younger than I expected.
Is that supposed to be flattering? I look after my body. I exercise. I don't smoke or drink. I take...
Well, you don't drink, what, never?
No. I assume from your reaction that you do? How much?
Not too much. Hardly anything.
The report on your liver function suggests otherwise.
Oh, they showed you that. Wow. Okay, I admit I used to have a couple of beers with the lads at the weekend, and when we went to the pub quiz on a Tuesday, but before, and maybe I did drink a little bit too much when everything went to hell, but who didn't?
I didn't.
No, I was never. It was nothing I couldn't handle. I never lost control. And these days I hardly drink at all. Well, who does? Who can afford to?
Well, I could. I merely choose not to. I choose to spend my money on more important things.
Like I said, it isn't a problem. Yes, I'll admit I miss going down the pub, but it isn't like I'm an alcoholic. It's not like I'm drowning my sorrows. I've had my fair share of sorrows.
Yes, your profile said you're divorced?
Yes, she left me after. I was a teacher before, English as a foreign language. I loved it, you know. I was helping people, helping them to achieve their dreams. But what with the pandemic, the banning of international flights, the quarantine, it just killed the industry. Brexit didn't help much either. The rise of the far right, the blatant racism, broadcasting a message of hatred to foreigners. And with Britain out of the EU, the economic crash, the food riots, no one wants to come to Britain anymore. Why would they? I tried teaching online, up all night teaching kids in China. That worked for a while, but Trump, the Civil War in America, the collapse of the states of the West, that was it. End of empire. No one wants to learn English anymore. There's no point. Businesses are looking elsewhere. Everyone wants to learn Russian or Chinese now. I lost my job, my wife, my kids, my home, everything. My world crumbled. I crumbled. I even considered suicide at one point.
So I read.
I just felt so worthless.
You shouldn't think like that. You're not worthless. You have a brain, a heart, guts.
Yeah, it took a lot of guts to get back on my feet.
Well, the point isn't your feet. It's what's inside that counts.
Sorry. Probably shouldn't have unloaded all my baggage on you like that at a first meeting and all this. It's been a while since I've talked to anyone.
No problem. It's nothing I didn't read in your report. And you have 3 children.
Yeah. All grown up and moved away, sadly. They share a flat in the Bristol enclave. It's not ideal, but at least it isn't London.
And you now live alone?
Well, yeah, for the moment. Who knows what the future might bring? I'm sorry, that sounded really presumptuous. I'm just a bit nervous. Tell me more about yourself. They didn't send me any report.
Well, I'm from the States originally, though I got out well before the collapse. I now live in London, in one of the safer parts on the outskirts, but still inside the wall. I'm a retired consultant. I founded a data protection consultancy, but I sold it a couple of years before the collapse began, and now I write books and articles based on that experience. I do all right out of it.
And what are you hoping from this meeting? I mean, why did you sign up to Perfect Match? Are you looking for Mr. Right?
Or MX, right?
Oh,
It's not about gender. I'm looking for someone with whom I'm truly compatible. I've tried other agencies, but the results were less than satisfactory. The people they matched me with weren't as close a fit as I need. I ran the risk of rejection, which hurts. It's a painful waste of time, money, and effort. And you know, I'm not getting any younger.
you look young for you.
So you said already.
Sorry. I doubt you get many rejections, though. I mean, you must have stolen a few hearts in your time.
Not stolen. They were paid for, believe me.
But you're good looking, you're intelligent, you're talented, interesting.
Solvent?
Well, yes, I suppose that can be a factor too, for some people. But that's not the reason I agreed for us to meet. So tell me, what was it that made you tick the yes box for me?
You came back as having the highest level of compatibility out of the available pool.
Oh, so I could be your Mr. Right.
You could. I'm a little worried about that liver of yours.
Like I said, it isn't a problem. I won't touch another drop.
You won't if I have anything to do with it. Would you be willing to agree to random testing?
So, does that mean, are we going to take this to the next level? I'd like to. I really feel you might steal my heart, Wendy.
Stop saying steal. You are a rare find, Craig. 1 in a million, even.
So we're on then.
I think we are. I'm sending you the final paperwork now.
Okay. Okay, got it. Signed and sent back.
I am interested in other parts of you than just your heart.
Uh-huh. Sounds intriguing.
I mean, I'm interested in you as a whole person. Like I said, I won't steal your heart. I'll pay you handsomely for it. Or your bone marrow, liver, kidneys, lungs, pancreas, whatever. I want the whole package. Can you be packed and ready for pickup next Saturday?
I'm sorry, what?
Well, you'll be living here, where you can be appropriately monitored. Your room won't be anything elaborate, but it'll be better than the converted container you're in now. You'll be well fed, decent food, and have access to medical care. Doing it this way isn't my first choice, really. But let's face it, a live human is the best storage medium. You did read the contract, didn't you? I need replacement organs for when I outlive my current ones, and yours are perfectly compatible. We're a perfect match. So someone will be in touch to arrange collection, and try to stay off the booze. I won't pay for damaged goods. It was nice doing business with you.